good evening. Mustafa City Boy. Can somebody just let me know if you can hear me? I'm not sure how audible I am, I came on here early on, really stretched out bad, and, I had to quickly get off it because I had to complete a couple of things. But let me know if you can hear me. I'm not sure how audible it is, but, if any one of you can hear me, just drop me a message that you can, we can get into the conversation proper. All right, thank you very much. So we're back on here on the same thing. And the first thing we want to say is we don't owe anybody anything that we say. We don't have any regrets defending somebody we know. We grew up together, and we know he's not a rebel. We know he's not involved in any killing of anybody. And we know that he is not hired by anybody to kill anybody. We know he does not work in Brikama Area Council. And we know he did not travel the night as alleged by the regime. We know he was not hired by anybody as alleged by the regime. We know he is not a member of the UDP and has never been a member of any political party. We know he is not an active politician. He has never been even a passive politician, to be precise. So today, we're done with everything that had to do with Husseinu, because he had concluded his defense and he had, in my view, proven his innocence beyond reasonable doubt. But again, it's because of Husseinu Ami is jailed. And this has always been the problem for Husseinu, because his problem has always been Nasista Bejang, Walla Kufan Kandamira. So it has never been about him. He knows because of his problems, that he was going through, life happens to people. And because of his problems, they got into a bigger problem, and that bigger problem got him in jail. And not just him, but including his sister, who was only helping him out in his own problems. So it's like the problems been compounding, but they are all based on lies and fabrication and deceit by the regime that is meant to protect its citizens. So that being said, it brings to mind, if the Gambia government is really there for the people of the Gambia, or is just a group of criminals conniving to criminally frame citizens just to get a result that they desire to, actually, build on their political, ambitions, or just to negatively and outright wickedness, use against other people whom they consider to be their political opponents or opposition. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is one thing that we cannot lose sight of. Now, one thing now makes perfect sense, and often people would say, oh no, you're sounding like a conspiracy theorist. There is no conspiracy that we develop in here. We relied solely on what the government told us and what the facts are before the court. Now, first of it all is that the government of the Gambia told us that Husseinu Bojang is a member of the UDP and works in Brikama Area Council. And we know that's a lie. The same people told us that he was a rebel, and we know that's a lie. They told us that he was hired to kill, and we know that's a lie. Now, beyond all of these, they arrested him, arrested all their family members, arrested Ami Bojang, who was just helping Husseinu to travel because of his problems, and just for Commissioner Momodu Sow to tell Ami that you people are UDP folks, and of course the UDP, has sent your brother to kill the cops on political motives. Where did Momodu Sow get these facts from? Where did Momodu Sow get such information from? Where did Momodu Sow get his allegations from? And what are the basis for Momodu Sow to allege that Ami is a member of the UDP, the families are UDP people who are actually sent by the UDP to go and actually cause chaos in the police? Moro, let's use our brains here. The UDP had a court case in Banjul, precisely Yankuba Dabo. Now, he went to court with his entourage, with a lot of people that came out to support him, including his security personnel. After that case, a couple of UDP people, some of them now torn into NPP, whatever, because people metamorphose in the Gambia politically as if they have no, life cycle. Now, Those same people moved to the NPP now, where the people being castigated and tortured or probably beaten by the police. Among them was Mamadou Sabali's sister, and key among them was Bayo Sonko and Mamadou Sabali, who made posts to say that, you know what, we are going to avenge, and it's going to be dirty and it's going to be ugly to the police. Precisely who? Pate Jallo and Babu Jeng. Now, that already establishes the fact that the UDP had a problem with the police torturing its people or beating them, and of course had made some wild statements through some of its militants. So if 2 police officers are killed, then one could think that, oh, probably it's the UDP because they were the people who were complaining about the police. And this is what the system capitalized on, to create a scenario that looks like that. Kill police officers that have similar names as to Pate Jallo, and turn around to frame other people, and during the framing they accuse them of being UDP, accuse them of being members of Yankuba Dabo's security detail, as being the person who wear a hoodie, actually being a person who was paid to kill, and for a whole 1 week they were surveillancing paramilitary bases in the Gambia. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. All of these things cannot turn out to be a coincidence. You know why? If the UDP say Pato Jallo mbanjole tole, muni atinna Pato Jallo do mi yalon ko fana mo police oltali o sambali yalon di Sukuta traffic light. That is not a coincidence. At the same time, why did the IGP travel when they posted these people at the same spot, so that it could be said that it did not happen in his presence? That is not like a travel coincidence. Again, why a Pate Jallo? That is not a mistaken identity as they want to make us believe, because everybody in one way or another, you are security conscious. Even if you are not, you can tell that you add 1 and 1, you know that something did not go right in this case. So all of those things cannot coincidentally become, coincidence from one point to another. But again, how on earth could you tell us that he works at Brikama Area Council? What exactly was the intent and what is the reasoning behind the claims that he works at Brikama Area Council? Is to associate him with the United Democratic Party. Going forward from there, you realize that even after arresting Ami, who really told you that, you know what, I helped my brother to move from Brufut all the way to Dar es Salaam. I was, at the Brikama market on the 14th, if the incident did the 13th, because the incident happened on the 12th. Now, your witness claimed that he took Ami on the 12th, at the night of the 12th from, wherever she lives, all the way to Brufut and pick Usainu that night and took them all the way to the border, and he only arrived at the border at midnight. Now, he arrived at the border at midnight, according to him. But the bike man who actually took Usainu on a bike claimed that he actually took Usainu the next day in the afternoon, which is the most accurate narration, that Usainu even himself said in court that the only person who spoke the truth in this case is the bike person who actually picked me the next day in the afternoon somewhere in Dar es Salaam to Jululum. So the driver that claimed that he actually, took Ami all the way to Brufut, pick Usainu, and then to Brikama, from Brikama then to Dar es Salaam within 30 minutes, that same night, evidently and clearly had lied to the nation. But this is a person the state brought in as their witness. This is the person that the state coached to come and lie. But again, one asks the question, why will the government of the Gambia lie on a matter that they are investigation and they are supposed to actually make sure that there is truth and justice and accountability on a case? If they are not complicit, why will they lie? This becomes the fundamental question that every Gambian needs to ask. The key question here is that, why did you accuse Usainu of being a rebel? Why did you accuse him of working at Brikama Area Council? Why did you say that part of the money he was paid was recovered? None of it you brought forward. And all of that just for us to sit back and say, oh no, it's the Iowa regular. But why would the police as an institution come out to lie that much? And to focus on Mamadou Sow, to debunk everything that this person had said and to render him, somebody who has no credibility at all and who should actually, be removed from the police force. This is it. Mamadou Sow said that he was part of the team that went to Casamance, and the whole lie is that, they use codes from one point to another to get him. That's already something that we put on suspense, because it's a complete fabrication and lies and deceit from the leadership of the Gambia police force. But here is a person who actually, went on to say that they went to get Usainu, and upon getting this person in a vehicle, he confessed to him. But let's be honest here. If the police that went to Casamas to get Usainu, and Usainu was handed over to them, in the vehicle is not a point of conversation, it's not a point of investigation. All they got to do was to transport this person to wherever they were transporting him. But even whereas he had asked him questions and he confessed in the vehicle, do you want to tell me that in that vehicle, it was only Momodu Sow and Usainu Bojang? That's impossible, right? Security-wise, it's impossible for you to get a criminal, a mastermind who had killed people in that faction, just for him and Momodu Sow to be in the vehicle. No. There must be other people in that vehicle. And besides, Momodu Sow, as a senior officer who is the head of anti-crime, will not be involved in holding up, somebody that you are actually getting a criminal. He would be there to actually probably see while his men do all the activities that need to be done. And probably they were sitting somewhere at the back and sandwiching Usainu and probably putting him on handcuff. And he might be sitting somewhere in front and doesn't care. Does he want to tell us that no other officer was there when he had questioned Usainu about the killing of the cops and claiming that Usainu had confessed to him? Yalo munayati na obeke da faniati amanke monyala akeda de damala nyala amam possible ko criminal ning Momodu Sow damala tuje after he has his men with him. So who among his men could actually collaborate that abe fania? But okola Momodu Sow mune fonke kabiriye Usainu la sister muta, he made these wild statements to her that atolomo UDP nkolleti UDP le albula police fala ale police lo fa political la kama. Why do you think Momodu Sow will go to that mile to actually make such allegations against Usainu Bojang and his family that they are members of the UDP and they were sent by the UDP to kill the cops? And of course, Ami, in her testimony, claimed that she vehemently denied those allegations from Momodu Sow. But why did Momodu Sow make such allegations? Yet, compare his allegations to everything Sankare told us. You can now understand the connections and know that it was the police who masterminded the script that Sankare read on Peter Gomez's radio. So everything on that did not come from Sankare as an individual. He was giving this information by the police because the police had already framed everything and had already cooked whatever narration that they wanted to narrate. So then the police must tell us how and why they stationed people at that particular point for them to be killed and for the same police to turn around and lie about their death. Even if not killed by a police officer, must have been killed by a gun mastermind either within the military apparatus or the security apparatus of the Gambia. Because we know, according to many, a mark pistol was used. Mark pistol is nothing that ordinary police officers can operate. It must be somebody who knows how to operate it, because we know it was predominantly junglers who were operating mark pistols in the Gambia. But again, your ballistic examiner came out to tell us that, oh no, it's a gun that is very rare. It's not within the military installations in the Gambia. What was the intention? To hide, to conceal, to actually tell us that no, it is not from the Gambian military installation. Therefore, it is not one of our men who did it. That is another point of concealment. Just like one of their witnesses claimed that he picked the gun and he hid the gun, and then all of a sudden it took 10 days before the police will pick the gun, and that gun was picked but can never be subjected to DNA. But that gun was never seen by any eye in the Gambia. Just like anytime the police gets a criminal who has a gun, they take pictures of those guns and post it on their Facebook page. The only gun that has never been seen in the Gambia is the gun that killed the cops. So atol be mune phone olan tolye. Memoto nyate nyunkuo kono. Nata da tilimbali yani ntapale yani konante yata kuo kono. Momodu Sow, amibo jan di ba mala palaso to ba. Just put her in the position of your mother, a lactating mother who is struggling to put food on her family's table, went out there to the market in Brikama to get ala ebe whatever thing. All of a sudden, the brother is in trouble. She left everything. This is what women can do. She left everything that she was doing to go support the brother. You turn around, of course, allege her of things she knew nothing about. You incarcerated her for 2 years. A lactating mother's children or child was actually kept outside there, who does not know what it feels to have a mother, does not even know how to breastfeed to know what it feels to have a mother for over 2 years. And then you are sitting out there. A couple of days ago, I saw people posting your photo that you are celebrating a birthday. That is how evil you are. Call it confrontation, but we got to call your names and tell you how bad and terrible some of you people are. That you have the guts to look at a mother, to look at a woman who did no wrong. And now I understand why the woman will break down in court. I understand why the woman will wear a mask for 2 good years. I understand how it feels to be a mother who did no wrong, and all that you do is to survive on your own sweat, to actually put food on your family's table, for just idiots from nowhere simply because they wear our uniform, to criminally connive within the police leadership, to do the dirty, and of course turn around to frame innocent people to the point that you can even format their phones, accuse them of being UDP, bring shoes that do not even fit them, and of course make wild allegations on people that know nothing about what you're talking about. What kind of a country do we live in? And for a couple of you will like, oh no, you know, I don't tell you about it. If you have your politics, go and deal with it. I don't say UDP because I care about your politics. I don't say this particular whatever because I care about. We are looking at a case, and the circumstances surrounding the case have something to do with the UDP. If you come to my inbox to insult me, that's your business. I don't do those kind of things. The most important thing is do your politics the way you want to do it. We have a case that is very peculiar, and it has some political, linings to it. We will address those political linings to it, but that does not mean that we care about what 1 or 2 of you would say. Because at the end of the day, they are very good people who have, high level of maturity and sensibility when it comes to the way they do their politics. And one dirty, filthy idiot would not make one person to go and say something about a group that did you no wrong. But again, it tells a lot about the kind of people that jump into supporting what political group or another. And then a couple of you who think that everything is about NPP bullshit, I don't give 3 Fs to that, because the whole point is that this is one of the most disgusting regimes that would actually look at serving police officers and you kill them for nothing. Now, this case, at this point, we have to look at it from an emotional context. I mean, like every other woman in the Gambia, you wake up in the morning, you take care of your family, you take care of your business. You went out there to the market to actually get goods or whatever item that she needed to get. And all of a sudden, your brother called you, is a lot of problems happening. You left everything. Let me go and help him out. Left all the way to Bruford to get this guy on the 13th, not as you people lied about. And help him to get to wherever, to get whatever deliverance spiritually or whatever. And she came back that same day, get all her goods that she was to get, went and did whatever she had to do or cook her ebe, and then went out to sell it within the same day, just for a little 1 or 2 hours for people to tell her, can you go online and see what's going on? They said Hussein killed the cops. Meanwhile, Ame said when she went to Bruford that day, the 13th, to get Hussein, and they were leaving. While they were leaving, they came by a turntable. There were several checkpoints because a day before that was when this incident happened. And they were being looked at and they were being checked. And of course, they were allowed to proceed. Ning ayatara DIG ko. Itolbe Hussein telefono track and mone atinna. Ite telefono min track. Ite ko wolungo lo ubora ji umari tada kasamas. Wara yara fan DIG uliara fo. Sai alnga nyonyi ninka. Mone be DIG bulala uliara fola. Nimfulan Jambala, police all control they track Husseino's phone that same night, and he was moving from Dimbaya to whatever. Mune police all bula ofani afola. O police killing all lemurunde ko amia ko etebe UDP le mune wol bula ofani afola. O police killing all lemurunde ko ndole Husseino be do ko brikama area council. Why? The same people told us that he wore a combat boot that did not fit him in court. But again, here is Ami's testimony claiming that you, Mamadou Sow, actually, out of your evil and wickedness, told her that, of course, you are a member of the UDP and the UDP Lealiki police fala. So we mention UDP now because of your politics. We are talking about the facts surrounding a particular case that we have interest in. Other than that, we really don't care about whatever somebody else wants to do with whatever politics, honestly. The politics we're interested in, when that time comes, we will do it. In less than 1 month, we will do whatever. Moro. Ekosi semi akilo bitu ni marse kono chocho buko charendi. So kumatili mbale mammo borendi jang. Alanga nyo horma nyo bunya. But in this case, we would actually mention those facts as they are out there and clear to everybody. So, Mamadou Sow, I ask you the question. You said Usainu Bojang confessed to you in the vehicle, in whose presence nobody. You went on wild to actually allege that they are members of the UDP and they were sent by the UDP on political motives. Ite ubonni muntole. Wata sankare mimfo itele afai. But then we know in terms of protocol and of course procedural issues are such that you cannot talk to Sankare directly except if you are authorized by your superiors. So it would be you or DIG So who would have communicated all of that. And we know at the time DIG So was anti-crime when this incident happened. And we know basically that you all actually framed this to happen in a way it happened so that it appears like the IGP at the time had traveled and of course these people were stationed at this place and somebody from nowhere came and killed them and then the gun will not be seen. The vehicle that is claimed to be the vehicle of the shooter belonging to a police officer will not be investigated. And the 3 military people who claim that they were following this particular person, would never be questioned because they are military experts. And the same people would claim that he was firing at them just for your ballistic examiner to tell us that only 3 bullets came out of that gun. Oh no, we got them with a couple of other people. You did not get any other people. What you people did was to go to one single family and arrest everybody there. That's what you did. You arrested Usainu, you arrested his brothers, you arrested Ami, his sisters, and then you turn around, even his brother-in-law, was telling him that kana femfo jang imam millong itamin sediano, that did not happen. You arrested him. I now understand that some Gambians are really wicked and most of them are probably 1 or 2 people in the police force. And this is to tell you that, we have a lot of very good officers, bright and best at what they do, but there are very disgusting and toxic people that can actually lead to the destruction of that force. And one like me will never have any trust on a force led by these criminals. Because this is the same person who is still leading anti-crime. Imagine a political, a very political person who is out there to do anything and everything evil for the regime. You think they will stop at anything? Now I understand why the president Seattle Bebala Dalala Mutala, probably including the IEC, so that he can continue to be president, so you can continue to victimize, subjugate, and of course criminally kill Gambians and turn around and frame other people. The police is not innocent in this case, and the Gambia government knows who killed the cops. But let's focus a little bit on Ami's testimony and her encounter with Momodu Sow and the anti-crime. Anti-crime, alto tata wala suokonole. Ale dula be saj. Altara Ami fongola suokono. Ale dula be saj. Alman kidije bulu. Alnene man kidije bulu. Alnene melon politicala. You can never in your wildest life bring any photo of Ami or, her children or probably Usainu where they are attending a UDP rally. So where did you get that from? You see comments on Mama Jabi. Mama, I don't talk about Mama. You know why? Mama be jabur silola kang because Mama is running from one office to another. Yala one thing mulma millong Gambia. Ni Mama dara office be sirinje time o I know. This is what I want you to know. Ku Mama di wahal, fu Mama di talk, ku Mama di wahtanal, office boom o dem, bes boom fa dem, time boom fa talk, we know. Look, when you want to be criminal, we are 10 times more criminal than you. So to you, most of these directors that Mama is jumping into your office one day to the other looking for money, jumping, because beyond just claiming that Usainu actually confessed to her and the audio is lost, Mama went on and did another video making wild suggestions to say that Usainu will spend the rest of his life in jail. Mama, we will actually get out of this case and we will put a whole new case against you, and we will see if Adama Barrow can defend you. According to Lalako, you are the darling of the regime, even though with all your lies and fabrication and deceit, the regime feels that you are the best person in that country. Moro, masa kilinja manabuka dunia bang. We would see that if actually Barokunda owns justice system, even though it's very clear to us that the Ministry of Justice is one of the most disgusting institutions in the Gambia, led by one of the biggest criminals that you can ever imagine, that would come to court and lie to the court on a matter that has to do with another Gambian citizen instead of actually establishing the truth and arbitrating nothing but justice. They are out there to lie against people. The ministry lied, the police lied, the government lied, and every other stakeholder in this complicity all lied. So what exactly is left? So mama la boring omol no mela official to ka kuma tilimbalo lo fo ka fate mo morol de mama la moriya man kuno mola ala yalon kila yalon. And in this case, we will prove to you that no matter what you people think and believe in, we will prove to you beyond reasonable doubt that you are as guilty as anything you can ever imagine. And these people that you are subjugating, you have destroyed their families, you have subjected them to too much nonsense that nobody can imagine, will come out there with their heads up. But janimbe fudala wotembora alam like a Jaime Ululala or Jaime la Musola or Jaime la Sistala. If Ami was your sister, how would you feel today? If Hussein was your brother, how would you feel today? And then for some people to think that, you come to people's inbox and say, oh, you can become anything in this country, forget about this case. Bro, I don't want to be anything. Does that make you happy now? I don't want to be anything. I'm not interested in any political position. I don't need to be anything. Probably people that don't know would jump and say, oh, you can become any. What do I need to become? Or that must be based on being silent on complicity and state criminality? That's basically what one should be, basing their desire to become something. What do I really want to be? Do you know the level I am in my career? Probably you don't. Which is of no importance to this conversation altogether. Alhamdulillah. At a very early age, we got to the levels that we don't ever dream of. Let's be honest. Sometimes it's not important to talk about oneself, but which I don't do. I don't even do that. Some of you who go out there to talk all kind of garbage, get to that level before you talk shit. In every aspect of human development. Not even a ministerial position gets Malmo back to Gambia. Let me be clear with that. Not even that would actually be anything that I would look into going to Gambia. To think that, oh no, you can become anything under an MPP regime. I'm not those people who would say things and tomorrow they go and actually be dining with, those folks. What 6 and 9 is a 419. I don't operate like that. Ekonima momilega vole hey. Alamandral da malejan alabe mobile jang. Ale wande dingolo muta aliye tilimbalia aliye tora, and then you want people to show up because you think, oh, you got government and you got positions. Ngo eko haramo na mine data yelere nako je bapo wolbe ke delen tol manke wolti. Ha. Kabirin dunia ba kole ala modol ya kate fangolle, and they don't really. There is nothing like we look and envy anybody. No. We work our ass out to get to wherever we feel like we need it to get there. If we really get there, alhamdulillah. If we don't, we know that's basically what is destined, but not through fraud. And not through subjugating other people to get to the top, and not to actually act blind on outright injustice and criminality and banditry in our country. That is not how you get to the top. That's not how it works. So for some of you with that mentality, don't come to my inbox to talk shit because you don't even know the person you're talking about. Now, even my parents would tell me, don't talk about what you're talking about because they know the kind of kid they got. And they know I don't disrespect nobody. But, of course, what I believe in, I believe in. And, of course, they respect that at all levels, which I very much appreciate. But you will not really do anything about it. At the end of the day, we got to tell you what we got to tell you. And we got to tell this regime what's going on. And we got to account them on the basis of the facts that surround this case. Nothing else. We don't fabricate anything. We tell you as they tell us what is in the case. Karunta Malong, who in this wild world would sit back and tell us that, oh yeah, you claim that this person is a rebel. You claim that he had co-conspirators. Do you now want to tell us that Ami is the only co-conspirator? Where are the co-conspirators? But you claim that Ami took this person on the night of the incident. Yet again, she came to court to say that, you know what, I only left for Brikama Market just to go to Brufo thereafter and then pick Usenu the day after this incident. What are law witness ole ke kanangonala kurro? Police or the government comes and of course made you come and lie against somebody you don't even know. Allah ida man nyimari long hari dunia dulato. Yena anan ko wuliya balde da ko la wandi muso kamiya lon ka man ko ku ketale inana mamoy imal diamo moy dulato. But of course the government wants you to lie, you would come and lie, just like your independent witness who claimed that he entered anti-crime through the back door. But why will they not conceal all of that if the boss of anti-crime could actually make those wild allegations on Ami that she's a member of the UDP and they were sent by the UDP to kill the cops for political reasons? Alanga tonya fon nyoy mol badi ngol lebe police mol tal jibe la ka mol la mol fa batara yakono. And when I see a couple of people, you probably go to one or two of Malmo's friends, Abu and Nini, all and Diwa. They ham nyolen koy wax. And just to address just a few of Gambia fa ka Gambia no le jo comme hasidia ni jow ya min konnante ya min katare to mo abuka dandula sodo. I've seen people that even down in America over here, you struggle, people help you. You still turn around to go to their friends trying to even talk shit about them when you know nothing about them. One thing you only know is the help they did for you. And if probably your heart can't take that, man, look, I don't babysit nobody. And one thing to be very clear, you don't know people, you don't know how they get their teeth in their mouth, you can't break them. And that will never make us stop helping a couple of you. Even the same people, you come back tomorrow, we still help you. Because we know, we all came from humble beginnings, probably with nothing. So, dara jaru ko fi. Amo dara lu ko fi jar. Why bolendi wax na ngeen wañi sen kadu yi, because everything that you put out there, people get to know. So it exposes who you are and the personalities that you depict and the kind of character and conduct you do out there. So be careful what you say about people when you really don't know them, because you just see them. And out there, you can just say all kind of garbage. One thing is, man, do wax ne xamal nga mali def na li fi ma fi wax lele wala ma fi def lele lolu amo fi. Taben dunya ko le andol kan ko la jimi ngamin no ngodoron ted. Manya lo mola fenkan wala mola tamanyaka wala moke kukan do sama na hajitiye. What you do at your personal level is not my business. But what collectively belongs to all of us, and when it comes to the delivery of justice, and we see that there is something that is going wrong, I never needed to know that something did not go right in this case. Even the blind, the deaf and dumb can tell that kula manta kujang. So Nita Mari Mofono, because of your political desire to support the NPP, you got to shut the fuck up. And I just said it as clear as I feel like. But then getting on the facts now, you tell us that this person's brother is a rebel and she facilitated his travel. But again, think about it. Like, I commit a crime. My big sister, probably somewhere in Abuko or wherever, came all the way to Brufut to pick me there to take me to the border. And untemu rebelo, tintamanta dulalong. Hani menke rebelo fong ndanga mofake mambo dulalong kan na sister la call. Ndanga mofake mammo koten call. The last person I would ever think of calling if I did and act like that would be my sister, because she will be frightened and of course probably will be like ite munkuleke, and then probably it will get out of it will get out to the public. That is probably the last person you will ever call when you do a crime. Because Sister Ningol don't actually take that so lightly, because they easily panic on things. So it's very clear that that did not happen. But Atol Lokonyoko, they took him to the thick forest of Casamas. So who took him to the thick forest of Casamas? You see how you people lie? You see how the regime lies? That you could fabricate an entire script against a people. But you can say everything about the UDP and all of that. And when they are with you, and they give you all the love. You can go and say all kind of rubbish about them. But any day that you come and you feel like, you know what, I want to be part of you, they welcome you with open arms. I had told somebody not long ago that UDP operates like a typical Gambian household. That is just a typical society and the way we are. You might have your issues with them, like I personally do, more so with the current leadership. Yes, but the fact is that these are not bad people. That's my belief, and that's my experience with people that support or actually are part of that political entity. Just like 6 and 9 came and they're very happy to have him. But to a point that to criminally connive and kill the cops, trying to frame those people. No, Tonya. You cannot even imagine it. But again, it speaks to just one thing. Army will break down not because what you put on her is painful or is probably too heavy to be mild to. No. Make mbulumandung nsimandung yewulia sifa be lankang sanyi fula mbeka sodo ndingo mi yalon ko mbasu sindika masu sindino oba banta nyami malon abe alhalo minta Allahu alam ala drone yalon Bi wali en antel min yo fan ya be da ko kan tel nyin ka police ol fata nyaadi la jumale fa wala mbimbe te kitindi kan. When you think about it, you think about everything around it, it's worth breaking down. Because even some of us who are not involved in it, just reading through it, it literally takes you to that breakdown point. Let alone a woman who did you no wrong. Imagine ngata na ebe wafo lang kana ko din so wada mafela man sakunda ko din na man bulela man sakunda la kuno man data la fenk kuto ale na ale ala wuli ya dubul dabala ta police ol fale na ale wol lankang. On top of it alkali en soron sanjefula ale muru woda falka fa fanko you know it like mbe UDP le wala UDP le torbula mo fala like why would Ami be involved in something like that? Does that make any sense to you? Does that make any sense to you? So the regime is complicit in the killing of the cops. Because Sankare le afon tole ko useno be do ko la Brikama area council le faniafel. Ko useno tata yankuba double court case tole with a gun. Faniafel la nyangfel. Ko useno basically was hired to kill, another lie. That part of the money he was paid was recovered. Where is the money? No money is seen. Yara fan kabira atol yomu da fan alna ka atol yomu tanin courts le yara fa obe mo fanialet. Just for it to be clear that even at the point of arresting these people, you had already fabricated your script and already started telling them that they are members of the UDP and they were sent by the UDP to kill the cops. And that is what Sankare came out to tell us. Clearly that, of course, there are politicians behind them, and we know the political party that was, having issues with the police. And then when you look at the people killed, because most of the times you see people looking at it just from an Usainu perspective, but look at the people killed. I don't know Pate Jallo, but I know Sanjay Gomez. And if you know, I don't want to talk about it because probably his father might not like it, but if you know the history of that family, they've struggled so much in this country. They have struggled so much in this country. Sang's father was falsely accused of a case that involves somebody who died, whatever, either a police or an NIA somewhere in Brikama. Falsely accused and put in prison. Yobula Sangomina, knowing that he did nothing wrong, probably a year later the son went to join the police. Within 1 or 2 months, simply because one's name is Pate Jallo and they are quite inexperienced and they had just come out of training, and at a period when UDP was complaining about Pate Jallo, the AIG, and then you killed Pate Jallo who had just concluded his police recruitment because he's inexperienced and probably does not know what is happening. You went and actually posted them at a particular location, came back and killed them, and turn around to say that it's the UDP. Ale usenu nyono mutameni along ko ibulu medu simmedu ma UDP ni la politique fangolong ka foko wolbe do ko la Brikama area so area council ni dula ko tangol to wada nyum mansa kunda mane be nyin police fa bondi no la to loka wakola kabra bota la ale 1 million o chikali adi mama la ngamra mama la nata ko da ko hani taransu madi atela. But an audit report came out not long ago to indicate that mama actually received the 1 million. Fraudulently giving a 1 million that did not come from the president's pocket, but of course from state coffers. And everything we needed to do in the defense of Usainu, including presenting Mama's audio, which was done, I think the next thing that Ami's defense team need to do is to bring the next document when they get to issues regarding Mama, which is the audit report. Because adding the audit report to the evidence will now, explicitly conclude the fact that everything Mama said to this court is a lie. Because Mama's audio is on the basis of which you arrested Usainu, just for you to come to court and for the DPP to lie that the audio is lost. We brought you the audio, you were fighting vehemently, the admissibility of the same audio. Of course, it was admitted, and of course, the transcription was done and admitted in court. That had finished the regime and has clearly exposed its complicity, its continued lies and deceit, and intention to hide any traceable evidence on this case. You succeeded in hiding traceable evidence of your complicity, but your lies have speak to nothing than your complicity. Because Alda Maleba Kuokono. So you made sure that you had a master plan. Moro, a command proposes, but of course at the end of the day, Alabembele jang. Atol fi ali minke atol bo kenu to probably ban a political entity na hajita wotod. But ali mine muta be olubula and ali tilimbalian intajininte ya mintili lembo fola la for dunia koteng. And we will never we will never shy away from that, because the Adama Barrow's regime is stained with the blood of innocent people, and on top of that, you subjugated ordinary Gambian citizens who did no wrong to you. What would anybody say? There is nobody in this country who has a good heart and an intention, not just even a good heart for the country. Even if you support the NPP, you have like a functional brain, you would understand that something did not go right here. There are two possibilities. But don't try to tell people, oh, you can do this, you can be that, who cares about being anything? In the face of injustice, that is where you try to be something because you got to shut up to be something. When it was time to go to school, we went to school. When it was time to work, we did work in the Gambia, in institutions that we feel we were needed to actually do what we got to do. We established our own stuff that actually get us what we're doing now. So probably you don't know what's going on. We left, we actually feel like leaving. We left and went to wherever we want to go. And we are not really doing anything to impress anybody, because we do what we do to the best of our ability to support our families and keep our low life. Until you people push us into a conversation that we definitely need to have, and to confront you with facts and not just your fiction that you want to actually, run a false narrative to the nation. And you think everybody's just going to be quiet and look at you run with your lies and deceit to confuse the people that, of course, this person did this, when in reality, we all know something did not go right. So we will be there to counter with the facts and tell you from one point to another what you said that is not right and everything that you did wrong. And that is why Gambians need to actually oust this regime, to tell them that it's enough, because with this case alone, it's enough to tell that something did not go right and the regime is complicit in the killing of its own men, who actually, their only crime is to wear a uniform to go and work for the institution that is actually national, and simply because one's name is Pate Jallo and there is a political entity complaining about a Pate Jallo. Look at Fijar. That political entity you want to kill is the same political entity that gave you rise to power. Moral ke mira kununna. Kambiano kanyina juna bakele. Alke mira kununna. Dunia sa kolea nyaunya hanini mo kuyada bi kunu se mira ko anene ku kendo kele. Haninara diala barakana jowya ning hasidia tilingala. Don't try to put people in problems simply because you don't get along today. Think about yesterday. Even if you don't need to think about yesterday, think about being human, bro. Nekalen ay nit. Ay domi jambur ngen fenal len sosal len wahal len lu neka. And then on top of it, you don't want anything to be said about it. Look at you, Commissioner So. Gambian. Anywhere you go in the streets of the Gambia, people will look at you and recognize you, that you are the person who lied against Usainu Bojan, claiming that he confessed to you, and went on to accuse the sister of being a member of the UDP, and they have been sent by the UDP. Fokowir. Is it a crime to support the UDP? Is it a crime to support the opposition? Or simply because you are a police officer, you think this regime is out there, for you to support and do anything and everything to defend them, including even killing people to lie against other people. And you go to bed and sleep and you think you're doing well, including, the former deputy IGP. So the police leadership and its command, the National Security Council and the leadership of the country, the presidency, is complicit in the killing of the cops. And the Gambian people need to question the regime on who killed the cops, because these people do not belong to just their families, because they wear the Gambian, police uniform with our national colors to go and defend the security and, of course, the properties of Gambians, just to be killed in their line of duty by the people who actually stationed them there, and then they came out to lie about their death, and then went on to frame a family that did them no wrong, who are actually on the low doing their thing on a daily life, up and down, just for them to be framed with lies and deceit. Udesa yaay la duna la neex. Udesa jabar la duna la neex. Udesa mag la duna la neex. But of course, it's a nation of self-protectionists where truth and justice are never defended, because everybody got to protect themselves, simply because if I say something, you don't need to become anything, because to become something, you got to be quiet. And of course, you dive things just to get to another level. We don't look for anything like that. Because if a society is built on lies and deceit, nobody becomes anything in that society, because it will be run on lies and deceit. And that is how the Gambia has been governed. By manipulators, by criminals who will connive. Imagine police officers who should be protecting every Gambian being the people who are actually criminally conniving and lying against other Gambians. Look over here. This is what we do as a people. So Ami's testimony only speaks to one thing. Mansakundala tapaleya nila, criminal doings is what Ami's testimony, exposed. It will continue to expose that, because the reason why they even went on to format Usaino's phone is to make sure that no evidence that he has and what he was doing the night of that incident comes out. But all of it came out. They went and brought in, witnesses, coached them, probably paid them, who knows, to come and lie against people that they know nothing about, just for that to actually be completely known to be false and fabricated scripts. Why will the government lie this much? This is the question. Moro, aman kenyala. Ma kalamda, ma moy, mantaraje, why will I lie? Ning ayata ko mbulo mandun simmandung. Nyinon ko nyanda nyonyi ning kalamenda. But then you see, even within our community, opinions are divided because they think everything is politics. Ah, no, makana nyum for den thing, Karla Kalabula nyina mosa mobula mona molmi yalan ko kibabani, with their functional brains, probably way older than people who really realize that something did not go right here. Take their time to go visit Usain, and you're telling them, oh, some Karla Kalabula nyina wala nyinde ko moro. Modo le bije signol dole bije modo le bije ni wol be living in society kilon ko no moro hakilo do hani wala kasidi ani la jowi atambira buwaya fangolal. This is the society. These are the societies we live in. We got to be honest about it. We can't just sugarcoat things trying to actually please people. No, that's not the point. We got to speak to each other factually. So this nation got to change, because budesa wakir la dalon. What you will be thinking and what we are doing will be different. So the fact is that we need to account the regime. And you, the police officers, we know there are a lot of very good people in the force. The best of people that I work with, associate with, probably hang out with, are mostly police officers. My closest dudes are police officers. Wherever. Moro, how about if it was just one of those folks that I do everything with who was killed in this incident? Will you people tell people to shut up? How about you as an officer, if you were the one killed in this incident, will you really want people to shut up? But because it was done in-house, probably done in a cannibalistic way, that you all don't want fingers to be pointed back at your institution. We know how it feels with institutions. I don't talk bad about institutions I work for. And when I see people do it, I'm like, ah boy, yo, don't you buy new free. But that's normal. That's humanity. You can feel for your institution, but that does not negate the fact that facts must be spoken. We will speak the facts. If my institution does wrong, or people within the institution do wrong, probably out of my own, professional ethics and, codes of conduct might not permit me to speak about them. But when people are speaking about them, I would shut up and believe that, of course, they are doing the right thing. Wala mutonyati. Or the police will Gambia banko kang atolle along mini police will fa police nyaton call to be precise. And the rest of the police officers, this could have been any one of you. Therefore, it's important that you hold your leadership accountable. If you are part of the anti-crime, ask your leadership why he said these folks were UDP and where he got all those fabricated scripts from. For nationals of the country, we got to account the government. We must ask the government who killed the cops, and this question will continue to be asked until this government collapses and another government comes in to make sure that justice is done. Ngo, hanata aliyede no alkomole ko malo miye police ulfa. People could still say, police will the malamini fad, but a capital tada fale wulia la mulla molkai, badingolkai, sinolokang. Then that is where you got it all wrong, because then and there we will account you, and nobody can stop that. Call it politics or whatever, so be it, because we don't really care, because we are Gambians like any other person, and we can do politics if that is it, and we can account anybody based on what you tell us. Go. There was a lady somewhere in Farato, Mari Gomez, and the brother who were killed in a very gruesome manner, and the government never came out to this day to tell us who killed those people. Even though we know that the government needed to do justice on it.
But beyond just not being able to establish who killed those people, beyond being able to provide basic security for Gambians, nobody's out there complaining about that on a daily basis. But you went on to kill even, serving police officers in their line of duty, to turn around to frame people who did nothing wrong, and you want the entire nation to be silent. The entire Gambia can be silent, and one person will speak about it, and I will speak about it until but and we don't ask this question: who killed the cops? This is the point. Either you want, whoever to stay in the Gambia, economic, or to have another mandate here and there. It doesn't matter. What matters is, the whole point is that this was a setup, criminally organized by the people who are supposed to be protecting every Gambian. If your protector turns to be your destructor, it becomes very difficult for you to actually maneuver or escape that. But Ami and Usainu will escape your tactics because it did not work. Because Alamandaratol Doreye, you people never thought that this case will get to this point. That is why your new tactics is to tell people, oh no, this person can become anything in this country. Tell them to forget about this case. My point is not about kanyum molobula. Alia tilimbalian in tajintea min fontilila ni sanje fulo be kono wada makanyantal. And again, alia mol min fa fol mu ulollet. Alta tonyan in tinmo tamand lord. Or because you thought you have neutralized those people's families because you will invite them to annual anniversaries, or you will basically, do whatever you want to do, thinking that they are not saying anything and they're happy about it. They are not. They might not be saying anything, but not because they are actually impressed or they don't know what the facts are. Even the people you killed, there are people who know something did not go right. But maybe sembo la tela dron, sembo battle la bul kido battle la bul mansakunda battle la bul atolom uniform theology. Mindia rale ali okay la dron. But lumbe sila to nyabe sabatilala, because we have seen previous regimes and the things they did bad, and of course the accountability. Even though you might not face accountability or going to jail, but people calling your names out and to tell you what you did, and nita da dawo da mol KGB ko makarita lo munyinti. Oda madam is enough accountability. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we intend not to stay too long, but the whole point is that if Ami breaks down, she definitely needed to break down. For 2 good years, a lactating mother does not even know how her son or daughter looks like. Ali ala family be janjang. Ali wulia sifa be laikang. Ali wandi dingol sonom faniakang. Ali kele telephone phone format to ensure that Ali sorong faniakang. And this is what has been going on in the criminal justice system of this country. A single narrative prosecution and incarceration where all the evidence that would actually lead to your innocence are confiscated by the people that arrested you. Ali wandi dingol mutake tocho just to go and lie against them so that you try to jail them. Mukute minyanta. But abe sunta mona la alla UDP hasidia na la UDP joya. Along UDP itolu konga fo nyamin drong yalo nen lun tawna numo monara drong. They're very helpful to people because nga molle je min yalon ko nyimbanko kam mo barakantam balu mol min me fon ken wani fengo fent is a kumo tilimbalo sifa be falva. But tomorrow they come and then you open your arms to them because they are looking for some support. They are trying to look for people to defend them. So, killing one. If you see all this Usainu Bojang's problem, abe emaneta muntola. It's Mamadou Sabali and the sister. That is where it all emanated from, because the sister la tulo bongo program o court case dulat. And one more killing one left in the kuma bal save ka ko police wala manjo la altole. Then for this incident to happen, the first people they arrested is the same people who actually made those wild pronouncements. Before we realize it, mama kate Usainu Bojang muda wala confess that but a moment confessed it, they will confess on record. Some of these media houses actually pick those confessions just for people to listen keenly and realize that this dude is even talking about not to Babu, you are talking about killing the cops. That do not even make any sense. The police upon transcribing this audio over 3 times, realized that there is no part of this audio where this person talked about killing the cops. What did they do? They said, let's drop the audio. Okay, let's the Ministry of Justice and its prosecutors go to court and lie that the audio is lost. From the beginning to the end, you people had no intention to do justice in this case. You were all out to frame, to lie, and of course trying to jail these people on your lies. It's very normal from the beginning. You could actually suspect anybody. I'm a suspect. But upon investigating and knowing the facts surrounding the thing, why would you start formatting their phones? Why would you start lying against them? That is what I don't understand. Then that is intentional and deliberate by the regime. Yet again, people want us to say, you know what, forget about it. We're not forgetting about it. We're going to talk about it because it matters to us, because it pains us, it hurts us to see somebody we know and grow up in the society to be lied against, and of course to be framed by the regime that is meant to protect every citizen of this country on, unjustly. Faniyakan drong. Hasidian in Joyakan. Alko mota fem follow. And then some of them would go, boy, yolo wani amga UDP la febo, man nama fale lulu. Man ma ewa small and it has to do with a brother, a colleague, somebody that I know and grow up with. You are telling me of your nonsense politics. If it favors the UDP, so be it. And what is wrong with that? Because aliya wuli wala kama. Hasidian in Joya man tambi wala. Moro ni mo man kukela muna ba jarle fang ye mo fa feka wala wakang. That is the height of evil and wickedness. So you know mukudi mo nyanda min folan no nyoy. So Momodu Sow, DIG Sow, Commissioner Sow, Ibu Sow. I told the Alomie police olofa. I told them mal are the conniving criminals who formatted Husseino's phone, who claimed that they used codes to get him, who actually said he's a rebel, who said he works in Brikama Area Council, he was the guy in hoodie, he was there with a gun, he got the gun from the Casamas rebellion. Abe funny I can say this becomes the question. So until you are able to answer those questions, we will continue to ask what it is and why and how. Allah was sojar sabol. Modotio mi alon ko Hussein la motola matara police all the time. Alta wol kamali nyin kamiye police all fa. Your witness that claimed that he got the gun and hid it, and it was hidden for 10 days, subjecting it to a fact that it cannot be, a DNA cannot be done on it. Go and arrest them and of course ask them why. The good thing is that some of these people came to court to testify and we got their names and everything. So none of those things would definitely be out of there. What has been the truth saying, Melville? It's been a minute, dude. I'll call you later. Binta heard she went to Russia for whatever reason, I don't know, but I'll find out why she's in Russia. That girl is crazy. Don't mind her. I'm trying to bring her to support the good candidates, but she's still stuck somewhere. I don't know where. But anyway, it is what it is. But the whole point becomes that Mansakunda fanya min lau senu nala dimbalo kang. Ye toro min lekang. Ye bata min lekang. Gambian kol bere nyanta fintila kajo koto nyanin tilungo itama nyinkestu. But even people of our society going to the case, molka hoy ko, hey, adol lega ranyin dula kamera ko, malal ka sila manala. Hey, a police all lafade. And this should pain every police officer because it could have been you. But an alma la vito nyanin tilungo itama je. Your officers have been killed. I don't know what they're trying to do with their families. Their families should make sure that the government is held to account. But of course, in Tolka Minke, we just let things go until a regime is changed, and then we start acting like, wild dogs. It's like, ngai moine ya sunyaro ila ulobe derin tek kabira mari tara fa fin da banda hawla ikamana ko femi ya lon ka kana fenna mutafe ka dara ay Senegal ka nyaade haji balcon olu kendo ko fin nangul kende dinañ len wax dega nak bu len nexé moy lolu bu len naxare nak moy lolu. Whoever want to cut us, please cut us, because at the end of the day life is that way. You don't maintain everybody. At the end of the day it's about the truth, it's about the facts, it's about what got to be done right. And this is basically what we are talking about, and this is what the government of the Gambia must be held to account. Nsanje tamankanya atolle alo minati na le police olfa obemu politiko nala no hasidiani nyojo yaldi. But that's it. But just to conclude, Army started her defense. Clearly, the driver who claimed that he took Ami on the day of the incident is a liar, a coached person brought by the regime to lie. To claim that Ami is a member of the UDP and their family is UDP, and of course they were sent by the UDP to kill the cops, was a statement fabricated by the police and of course the head of anti-crime that is established by the court. So what I'm saying, police solo, alalla moli nyinin ka muni e tolobula ke da dum politiko kono kata yani UDP be complain kan pata jallo nyol ni la excesses la. Why would somebody go and kill the cops just for the police themselves? Even let's say if it was not done by the police, why would the police go and frame Ousainou Bojang? Why will the police even frame his family? Why will the police even say that he's a rebel? Why will the police even format his telephone? But until the day of the judgment of this case, we will continue to expose your lies, and we will continue to have these conversations with our people, because at the end of the day, your whole intention from the beginning was to change the minds, to lie to the people, to make everybody believe that Ousainou did it. Now that it is clear to you that he did not do it, you wanted to you actually handcuff, and then you have him on gunpoint, several gunpoints leading into the courtroom. Today is only one person, one lady who is always behind him without even any pistol. It speaks to one thing: you have relaxed all your security measures because you know that you actually messed up the case, and now you want people to show up. We will not show up. We will defend the dude to the letter until the conclusion of this case, to tell us that, oh yeah, dunañ ko baye du gëna fi lolu du wax bi ñun taluñ ndax baye nañ ko ndax duñ ko baye dega bi lañoy taxawal ba bes bu mo jeex. Lolu nak ngeen xam ko anon ko kelende al ñanta wolon na. Some of you with your lunatic thinking of how you see politics, you come to people's inbox with your bullshit. We don't have time for all of that. You know what we have time for? To tell you the facts. And one thing about me is I don't block nobody. You know why? Or you just get off my wall. Blocking you is actually helping your heart to heal. Because the more you insult me and the more I speak about what I think, the more you get it in your head. I say continue like because I'm not going to block you. And besides, insults don't write on anybody's face. At the end of the day, we are just telling what we want to tell. And then the whole point is for you to get it. Even if you don't want to get it, you will get it. So the only way you will not get it is probably get off my wall and probably block that person. But I will not block nobody, because I know what I'm saying is what you do not like. But it's important to me that you hear it. And that's why I'm going to keep all of you, including these NPP folks. So sometimes I see people, no, block Bahum and all. No. I want Bahum to see everything I'm writing, because Bahum himself, including that, lunatic Alaji Bambo, came out to make wild allegations that Ousainou actually killed the cops, or they know the people that killed the cops, including that, so-called, VM Tarawale, who actually made those wild, statements that Ousainou did kill the cops. Some of you people will actually, sue you to court after this case, and you will pay for, your stupidity. Then and there you would understand that defaming people because of your political desires is nothing that anybody can accept, or any decent society will accept. And it's not about, forgive people. No. You don't. Some people need to pay for their stupidity. That way they would learn. Some people only learn from their own mistakes. Some people only get lessons from the wrongs that they are made to pay for. We don't whoop children simply because we want to beat them, but of course so that they learn from their mistakes that what they did is wrong. So people got to pay the price of their stupidity. That way they would learn not to do it again. And at the end of this case, we will have a long way to go with this regime, which is hell-bent on, lies and deceit. Again, cement legi mu aga $1,000. Which maybe, we probably wouldn't have rice to eat. This regime does not care about the well-being of the Gambians. Even the press statements and releases they make is just cheeky and flimsy, just to tell you, following them, and any time that president wants to come out, everybody jumps on him. One of the most uneducated, uninformed, one of the most corrupt leaders you can ever think of in this sub-region. Yet again, you have a whole citizen who feels that, of course, this is a great guy doing great job. From where? And then the stupid thing that you would hear from a normal NPP supporter is to tell you that opposition be lalan fi def. President. Do you know why people get into politics? People get into politics to tell you that give me your country and its resources so that I can utilize it in the way you want it. So it does not mean that they come in there with their money to actually use their money to develop the country. They actually beg the people to vote for them to come and use the resources of the country to pay themselves, and of course to help the country in directing budget and allocate it in the priority areas of the country. That is governance. It's not to ask people, oh, what is the opposition doing? The opposition got to do nothing. What the opposition got to do is to raise awareness and to tell the people what they want to do for them, so that the people can entrust them with the state resources, so that they can actually, allocate it to in the way it's actually got to be done in governing the country. So to tell people that what have you done, what should they do? Ayen law lan fi def, lan lañ fi wara def? Wax len ma lu Barrow musa def si Gambia before he become president. Ay waxi lunatic, da ngeen fogg na ñi ay dof lañ. But we will continue to raise awareness to the people to understand that nobody does anything prior to becoming, a president. Barrow la fi def. Momi yalon ko julala mati. Amna lan kay jaal mako yow ngene ko ngeen ñoo wax ne mu ngi liggéey fi lan la nekk di liggéey fan la génnee xaalis boobu noonu. We are paying this man, is not even paying tax. Nen kumala nin telephone man kumara kara ko leara nyaaw nyaaw maybe ndolka tax jol. But at mari bugani tax fon jo, we are putting everything that belongs to the country and put it to you to say, you know what, dohalal. And bugule na dohal dega bi munge gena go heading to the ditches. You are actually subjugating the people. You are not even alleviating poverty on the people. You are injecting more poverty on the people, and yet that is the government that they want to tell us is doing well. Oh, it's building roads. Is it building roads from Barrow's pockets? It's building roads from what? Monies that are actually borrowed, and that I would pay, our children will pay, and probably our grandchildren would pay. Governance is the country giving you its resources, believing in your expertise and ability to govern them. But how could a country believe in one of the worst of society to actually govern them and expect the ship to be, to sail in the right direction? This is the question we got to ask each other. It is only in the Gambia that you see a community nurse becoming agriculture minister to come out there to lie to the people about things they know nothing about, but all they do in their political platforms to tell us that, bude deret la, bude jarna deret ñu tural ko president bi. Deret di kan ngeen di tour. People that you should actually go and cajole and of course convince to vote for you ngana bude jarna tour deret du nañ tour deret. Wala motax ngeen rey police. And you know what, regime pass regime do gonna figure. And then when I listen to people trying to castigate Ablai Bojang, hey, you cannot be listening to people selectively or out of selective reasoning or probably out of outright stupidity. What the dude said make perfect sense. Unless you have some ulterior motives or you just hate him out of nothing. Probably you don't align with his political beliefs and nobody wants you to align with everybody with their political beliefs. But when people speak the truth, see the sense out of what they're saying, than trying to castigate and trying to just be very narrow-minded in your analysis and trying to tell us that, oh no, ako Adam Baroning, Sanamanja nyon na kanyanda wala Adama is worse than Sanamanja. Contextually, if I am the president of the Gambia and there was a president prior who had done a lot of human rights abuses, and my responsibility as probably, a coalition leader who should be there for 3 years and primarily to bring about reforms and of course, reconcile the society on the basis of truth, justice and accountability. If I fail in that aspect, I am not better than the perpetrators of those crimes. And in that context and in that sense, in that reasonability, Ablai Boja made perfect sense. Unless your brain does not work and you have a malfunction cerebrum. But the same people who actually did some of those atrocities are the darlings of the regime, are the ones dining and whining with the regime. What are the checks and balances put in place so that a repeat of those do not happen again? This is where the dude was directing you at. Unless you are myopic minded and does not understand and you only think with your heart and not your head. This is the fact. What are the checks and balances that this regime put in place that the things that had happened do not happen again? Where is the security sector reform? You see in protests how they treat people, but it's the same Gambians that would see that young man not long ago telling the UDP people that they cannot see Bori Toure simply because they had a crowd there, and then it's an order that said that nobody should go there except his council. Where in our laws states that if you detain somebody who did not kill anybody, just probably made some pronouncement, that nobody could see him. Not even his family, not even his relatives, not even probably his wife. Out of that crowd, we know all of them cannot go and see him. But a reasonable and a sensible person would say, what? Let me pick 1 or 2 out of this group. Go and regroup. Choose 1 or 2 among yourselves, and then we will allow those 2 to go and see him and have any conversation they might want to have with him. Do you know if he already communicated to his lawyers? Do you know if he needed something from his family? Do you know if he needed to tell something to somebody? But to outrightly deny everybody, to say nobody is going to see him, and people would say, oh, the way he said it nicely, and he was respectful to the people, and of course that's kudos to an illegality. Does it make any sense? To exemplify that is just to say that, you know, probably I come and insult you in a very nice and calm way, and you commend me for insulting you. Not what I did, but how I did it. This is how we want to run our society? Our society must be built on truth, accountability, and justice. And that is not to actually pick and choose and, of course, try to dive things just because probably the people involved, you don't like them. One thing I know, even if I don't like you and I know you are on the right path, and of course I just speak the truth, even if it actually, you know, means that my enemy benefits from it. Because at the end of the day, I want to live in a just and a truthful society. Irrespective of who benefits from the truth and justice, let everybody be guided by justice. You commend the police officer because he speaks to people politely by executing an illegal order. What is respectful in that? What is professional in that some of you call, oh, he was very professional? Professional on camera, because it was very obvious to the officer that, of course, I am on camera. So what I would send out there, let me just act nice by not really actually showing the other side of me. But yet what you are actually enforcing is nothing but an illegal order. We know that all of those people cannot go in, but all you could have done is like pick 1 or 2 among them, say, okay, mo fulato letal ning kare nyojo or whatever. But deliberately to tell them that nobody outright would see that person, and you think that is the law. That is how you enforce the law in this country. So we got to tell you the truth, and we got to speak about things as they happen in our country. And not because we care to talk, because we don't really care. We could have just showed up and mind our business. But we cannot mind our business when our community members are incarcerated falsely. They don't put money into your pocket or whatever, but the society grooms you to be a better person. You do wrong in the society, probably somebody you don't know whoop your ass so that you can actually do the right thing. So that someday you can come back to defend the truth and justice for that community. So we cannot all shut up on our community that made us who we are. And outright we can see injustice and we claim that we got to shut up. More so for people that we grow up and of course spend time together, who would be framed and lied against, and we all feel that, oh no, I'm comfortable with my life, I better mind my business and sort of, because probably I can become something in this country. Who cares about becoming something? Something on lies and deceit and manipulation? I don't want to be anything like that. I don't want to be associated with anything like that. And we don't play double standard, and we don't play 6 and 9, 419 games. No, we don't do that. We speak our mind when we got to, and whatever befalls us, we take it in good faith. We grew up in missionaries, so we know what it means to really some of these police officers thinking they're strong-headed, they're not. Most of the evil ones we are talking about, because when we say police, it's not everybody. There are very good police officers who are doing very well for this country. Well-educated, up to the point, and of course they know what they are doing. But there are other people who are only after position and power and influence, and they will do anything and everything to get there. Even if it means killing people for the regime, they will do it. Even if it means lying against other people, framing them, they will do it. And that is exactly this episode of Who Killed the Cops. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It's been almost an hour being here, man, you know. I'm getting tired of talking. But, you know, I'll talk to you another time, and, you know, hopefully Monday again, Ami would be out there to continue her testimony. But it all reveals state complicity and their fabrication and lies against this family. And someday, there will be justice on matters relating to who killed the cops. Thank you.